Let's rock and roll. So I am so excited today to introduce and welcome my old friend, Romy Sembi, who, if anyone knows about sales and recruitment, it is this guy. You've done training in, what is it, 56 countries now?
Absolutely. 56 countries, 85 locations throughout the globe.
That's incredible. That's insane. Now, I always ask people at the beginning of the podcast, what would you say your why is?
My why.
What is your why? Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean by my why?
What is your purpose?
My purpose is, I know it sounds like a strange mantra to believe, but I am so passionate about giving salespeople the confidence and tools to do the job. My passion has always been why accelerate the performance of individuals, because we were all once upon a time that little person. We were all once that entry level SDR, telerep, whatever you want to call it. I've been there, I've done it, and I've never forgotten those humble beginnings when you feel like you're a little bit of a lost soul and all you need is guidance and nurturing to accelerate and give your career wings. And I think that's my whole purpose. It's never been about the money. It's about increasing the performance of individuals. That's what I love.
I love that. And it's so true because I remember being the humble beginnings that you speak about. I remember I didn't really know what I was doing. My very first job, I had to pick up the phone and do sales. And I struggled. I'm dyslexic. We're both dyslexic. We both share that.
Absolutely.
And I'll always remember just the passion and energy that you brought to it. There was just no way out. It's a bit like personal training, I think. The way you kind of motivated me to keep going in the early days, I genuinely don't think I would be in a sales role now had you have not been the first few months of my sales career. So thank you for that. But also, I think it's really interesting because I massively believe that a lot of people don't consider themselves to be salespeople, but they are. So, I mean, being a recruiter as well, would you say that recruitment is sales? Would you say that you have to be a salesperson to be a good recruiter?
Absolutely. But I think we've got to unpack a lot of what you've just said there. I think no one, and if you'd ask anyone in the world of recruitment, are you a salesperson? A lot of them fidget around and kind of avoid the subject. I think a lot of us never chose to fall into sales. And that's my point. We all fall into sales. And it's something I always say to business leaders. You can go away and do a degree in marketing and you're deemed respectable and whatever business studies degree you choose to do. But for fundamental, the reason why an organization operates is to generate revenue. But there's no such thing as a degree in sales. And I've always never understood that when you think that's the number one reason why organizations exist. But equally, when you do fall into sales, because you do, you very rarely choose. But then you realize you're actually pretty good at it. So what you end up becoming is something called unconscious competent. You kind of fidget around and mumble along thinking you're doing a great job, but do you really know what you're doing? And that's where sales, and especially in recruitment, you need structure and guidelines, never a script, but what you really want to be able to do. And I think where you thrive back in the day, and I know, not saying your age here, Susan, but 17 years ago, is because we took the learning out of the classroom into the real world. And unfortunately, if I debunk a lot of sales trainers, there's a lot of trainers out there that give lovely theory and lovely principles, but it's in a clinical environment. They put salespeople and recruiters into a classroom environment, hope that that theory is going to impact on them. But it's always been scientifically proven, Susan. Salespeople only take about 10% in a classroom environment. You actually learn in the job, that 20%, and you actually learn from your colleagues. So my mantra has always been this 10, 20, 70 approach to learning and development. But what recruiters really need is hands-on training in the job, live calling, because that's really where you learn, making mistakes, but actually being coached real time. So my belief has always been with recruiters is you need to, and this is my answer to all business leaders out there in the world of recruitment, is show your people the how so they can learn and demonstrate, whether right or wrong and making mistakes, it doesn't matter. But showing those individuals the how will accelerate their performance and fundamentally affect your bottom line.
Absolutely. I think that there's probably about maybe only 10% of sales managers out there actually picking up the phone and showing them the how, it's scary really, which all over LinkedIn at the moment, you have the Gen Zs, you have some people who I think are actually dinosaurs in denial saying cold calling is now dead. So what does Romy Sembi say to that? Is cold calling dead?
Absolutely not. I think it's how you approach a customer. I think also you tend to find dinosaurs, and I'm part of that as a 55-year-old man. you may have this perception that the younger generation have a different perception on life. As you can appreciate, Gen Z, number one, want to work for an organization where they feel invested. Okay. And going back, is cold calling dead? Absolutely not. It's how you approach a customer. Remember, no one minds having a phone call. I still look at pictures of phones and think that's going to make you money. Yes, it's all embedded into your CRM and etc. But it's traditional phone. It will make you money. You will not close a deal just based on an email. But
No.
it's what you say, it's how you say, when, how, why. And the fundamentals are, if you're not going and approaching a customer where you're educating them, informing them and advising them, unless you're telling them and bringing them new ideas, teaching them something they don't know, telling them something that they were unaware of, and more importantly, letting them know something that's going to make them look good in front of others, why are they willing to listen to you? Because otherwise, it's just another recruiter on the block. So it comes down to, and it's still a domino effect, in my opinion, Sue, that sales is a process to a degree. But if you're not prep and planning to begin with, you can't enter that call with a proper conversation. And otherwise, within 3 seconds to 30 seconds, that individual you're trying to target already knows you're a recruiter and puts the phone down on you. That's why.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? And I think it's that rejection, that whole kind of, do I like you, right? Do I like you? I know that if we go to social events, me and my husband, I know that if I turn up and I'm feeling quite self-confident and I like myself that day, that I am going to be liked in return. Whereas if you're a salesperson and you don't like yourself and you're trying to like do the sales calls, or you don't like yourself for what you're doing, then how is anyone ever going to like you, right? So do you think a lot of it is about the mindset?
Absolutely. I think salespeople, and it's a question sometimes people always ask me, what makes an exceptionally successful salesperson? And I could give you all the different points in terms of personality, etc., etc. Absolutely. Your personality is your mantra. Okay. It's not the qualifications at the end of your certificate that will make you successful in sales. But fundamentally, the mindset of a salesperson is, and I always say this, is stop caring. Salespeople worry so much about picking up the phone because of the fear of rejection. So the mindset I've always had, Sue, is the answer's already no. So stop worrying, because that panic, that anxiety comes across in your voice in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not real, right? That rejection, some people I know, they would rather jump off a balcony than pick up the phone and be rejected. I remember, I try and bring myself back to all those years ago. And I remember having that fear of people around me thinking I was bad at my job because I was getting rejected. And I think a lot of people are like that. They're like, oh, I'm making sales calls and it's quiet. And what if people hear me being rejected? But I guess when we just get used to the fact that it's going to happen and that's okay. One thing I get a lot of, and I want to know what you think about this, salespeople who say, I've made 40 calls. I made 40 calls and no one's answering the phone. Do you get that a lot?
I had it 2 days ago. I had a salesperson I was coaching, not performing, and it came down to a few things. Absolutely, your KPIs, your activity rate. Well, if 40 haven't worked, ring another one, ring another one. It goes back to the point. Stop caring, stop looking at others, stop worrying about what other people are doing. And just, there's a phrase I use, focus on your own island. Stop worrying about everyone else around you. You can't influence that, but what you can do is influence yourself. And my answer has always been, the answer's already no, so stop caring. Selling's a game. Have some fun. Okay, you've got nothing to lose. The person at the other end of the phone is just a human being just like you. Stop worrying about job title. They still shop at the local supermarket like you do. They still buy groceries. Okay, they still have the same worries and woes as you. Just stop caring, be yourself, sell with logic, but bring something to the attention of them that they appreciate you're actually worth having a conversation with you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one thing I've often seen, and I've seen with myself, you think you've made about 40 calls, and then you look at your call log and you've only actually made 12, and you might have procrastinated a bit in between. So it feels like it's more than it is. It's definitely a discipline, isn't it? You have to be disciplined.
Absolutely. You brought a valid point there. We ruminate on that rejected call. And this is where my coaching has always been hands-on, on the phone, real time, headphones on, whispering at the same time, because it's taken that learning out of the classroom into the real world. But it is very much, you've got rejected. Don't worry about it. There's no point dwelling on it. Next one. Next one.
Yeah.
It feels sometimes I've got, you're being poked by a little stick. But once you've done 3 or 4 other calls, are you really ruminating on that 5th call you did 20 minutes ago? It's just now a pipe dream and it's just something you've forgotten about. So that's how you build resilience. It's just dust your shirt, get on the phone again and try another one. Okay.
Yeah.
And once you get used to that momentum, then it becomes muscle memory and you know what you're doing. And then you can self-analyze and critique yourself. Something salespeople should always do is stop focusing on the negative. Focus on what
Yes.
you've achieved. Focus on what you've learned. But unless they've got a process in place, they've got a structure, someone's coaching them, that's where I believe that's where you accelerate individuals' performances.
Love that. You must have seen millions of salespeople
I have
on
over
the
the years.
phone in their jobs over the years. What would you say? I mean, a lot of people think that they are just not salespeople. Have you witnessed anyone who says, I am not a salesperson, and then they can turn it around?
Absolutely. I think something I always say to salespeople is if you go to a party today and you're asked, what do you do? How many of you, and this is when you've got a peak, like 20 or 30 in the room, how many of you say you're in sales? And then no one puts their hand up. You always get lovely sugar-coated titles. I'm a business development director. I'm an account manager. It's for some reason, sales is a dirty word. And we all have different personalities. We all demonstrate different behaviors. So I think it's this negative connotation. You think you're in sales, you're going to be extra loud, extra bolshy, in your face, but you don't have to be. Selling's about logic, in my opinion. Is conducting yourself in a business manner and mirroring the type of individual you're speaking to. When you're dealing with someone at a C-suite level, trying to be their best friend and think I'm a relationship builder and that's going to win your business. It doesn't. Okay. People buy from you because you've got something that they feel of value. So that's what you need to be more aware of. So I think we all deny we're in sales, but what we really are educators.
I
And that's
love
what
that.
people are willing to buy. So if you can educate and inform and advise, that's all you do. Because in my view is you can never force anyone to buy, but all you can do is share your humble opinion. If you do believe your humble opinion is logical and it can assist and help, that's the passion. I can help you. And that will come across over the phone or face to face or over Teams.
I love that. Thinking of yourself as educators. And I think,
Educators.
like you say, everyone's got sales means something different to everyone that you speak to. No one likes to feel like they're being sold to, right? So I guess if you are educating them, you feel like you're walking away with something from that call. It's not that kind of one up, one down approach. But I would love to, yeah, I mean, there's so many questions that I have for you. But I think ultimately, what do you do when you are training someone and
Mhm.
they do not believe? They will not pick up the phone. They are just like, no. Because I've seen recruiters
Yeah.
be okay just by using email, just by using text, not superstars, but okay. And
Yeah.
some people can survive. It's for me, I mean, I was earning more than my friends who were top lawyers when I was just simply picking up the phone. Right. So
Absolutely.
I know it works, but there's people who you must be training all the time who just do not believe. Can you give us any stories of those
Absolutely. I've
people?
had individuals that were not willing to pick up the phone. And, you've got to unpack that. You've got to understand, well, why aren't you willing to pick up the phone? Has anyone actually shown you how? Has anyone taught you what to say, when to say? Let me pitch you. Why don't you poke a
Mm,
stick back at me? Something I did with you many, many years ago. Okay, let me be the salesperson because I think a lot of times it's easy for you to be the salesperson, me being the customer. You never learn that way because you're
yeah.
concentrating so much on the role play. Whereas when I'm the salesperson, you're the customer picking holes. And then it's like you said, it's becoming a gym instructor. It becomes like a
Yes.
sparring session and they understand because if that individual then starts to realize, oh, I can see why you said that. I can see why that makes logical sense. But equally, Sue, one thing I cannot do is change people's attitude. If it's a negative attitude, you can't change that. But if an individual has a want and a desire, what they're really saying is, I'm crying out for help and advice how to do it. But if no one's showing them how, and all you're telling them to do is pick up the phone, that's where you get staff turnover and disgruntled salespeople because you've not taken the time to actually demonstrate what is required.
100%. And I think there are so many things that we can do as individuals to improve our mindset in sales. Like I sometimes turn up, I work on my own. I turn up and I've got a bad mindset, like in the sense that like, why would anyone want to buy from me today? I got no sleep. And I think often we think if we start off a day badly, that the whole day is ruined. But actually, it might just be that 1 hour and you can then start a new hour and just be, and it's all about those kind of things that you say to yourself, isn't it? And I think a lot of people rely too much on the sales manager. We have to be accountable as salespeople to ourselves. But yeah, I mean, in regards to managers and sales managers who are listening to this
Mhm.
and they're meeting resistance, so it's sales hour, come on, guys, let's get on the phone. What can they do to drive the sales forward?
I think for me, it's something I've done with some of the super brands out there where I've walked sales floors where I'm listening to 10 salespeople at the same time. Some of it to do with the systems you've got in place, but just cracking the whip and asking your salespeople to get on the phone becomes a broken record. Work the floor, get in the trenches with them, listen to them on live calls. That's where the support and the magic actually happens, because that's creating an energy. And also make sure that we all are doing it at a certain time. And you may laugh at phrases like power hours. I've worked on sales floor, for example, Indeed, with 185 salespeople on one floor whether in New York or Canada, and come to power hour, the desks automatically rose. But it was creating a culture where we're all in this together, and they were all on the phone at the same time. That hour happened, or 45 minutes, the desk went down. But there was then a regroup. It was camaraderie that, look, how did it go? What did you learn? It's sharing best practices. One is getting people to do the role that they're paid to do. Absolutely. Yes. And I'm saying this to all sales managers and directors out there, but it's creating a culture of success. Showing what the good is and showing what good salespeople are doing so other colleagues can mirror. If you're not sharing and building that culture, you're managing a team of silos, and that's where you then end up having the problem of managing prima donna salespeople, because you don't actually know what they're all doing. And that's where they get a gun to your head rather than the other way around. And it's something I always say to salespeople, and this maybe sounds like a strange thing, Steve, but I always say this to salespeople when I first meet them. My job is to give you financial independence. And they kind of look at me in a really strange way. What do you mean financial independence? And this is what I've always said to any salesperson to open the door in their mind and their mindset when I'm coaching. I'm going to train you what to do and how to do it to make yourself successful. And if you know the how, you will have now consistency in your approach, and you can press the pedal to go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. But you're not reliant on anyone in the future, because it's all going to be down to you and what you choose to do. And once they start realizing that's what financial independence is if this is not the right environment, I can take my skill sets elsewhere because I know what I'm doing. Now they're willing to listen.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love that, because you've got a shared goal. Who doesn't want financial independence, right?
Absolutely.
You're going in there and basically saying your why, right? I think a lot of sales managers out there don't explain the mission that they have to their team. What are we all trying to achieve? Give you financial independence. Perfect. And it works. And I know it does, because everything that you taught me, and let's face it, we were only working together for like 3 months. But in that time, I was lucky enough to remember and took it to my next role, which
next role.
Excel. Yeah. And I do appreciate that. I think one thing that I would like to add to that as well is knowing that your team member might not have the same skills that you do. So for example, you and I are both dyslexic. I was so disorganized, so scatty, still am a bit, don't tell anyone. And my desk was a mess. And I remember in a previous role, a manager said to me, your desk is so messy. Until you tidy your desk up, you're not going on any sales visits. At that point, I probably would have left sales. I would have done. But I remember then you came in and anything was possible. And, that kind of attitude of the most impactful thing that you're going to be doing today is picking up the phone.
Making money.
Not cleaning your desk. And I think there is that. But
I think the analogy I always say, you could get someone else to do your admin task. And just on that point, I think it's quite surprising how many salespeople are dyslexic or suffer anxiety, suffer ADHD, but they just don't want to be as open as you and I are. And I think what you have with individuals that have a quirkiness, let's just define it as a quirkiness. What you'll find, those individuals will overcompensate it with other elements, which are just amazing gifts in the world of sales. And it's something I always tell to salespeople when I first work with them. I go, is sales an art or a science? They always say it's an art. No, it isn't. It's exceptionally scientific. And once you can process map that and put your own language and dance around it how you want it, that's where it then eventually becomes artistic and flamboyant. But yes, individuals like us who are dyslexic, I think it's a gift because you can multitask and do other tasks. So it's just nurturing. I think for me, it's focus on the positive of your individuals. Your salespeople are never going to be you. No. If they were you, they'll be the manager. Okay.
Yes.
You've got to adapt around them, but give them the confidence and tools to do the job. And that's where I sometimes think the missing link. And if you can show them, you get credibility, they trust you, and they can learn off others. That's what it really comes down to.
So much there. And I love what you just said about the tools, because I think one thing that the mistake I made when I first started out was thinking it was all about the quantity. So come on, question for you, Romy. Is it about quality or quantity? Sales.
It's always about quality. Look, we can use those analogies, and I've never really reinvented the wheel. Yes, it's a numbers game. But let's get real. After a day's work, one I always said to something, what were the 3 clients who've had meaningful conversations? I've had a really good call. Why? Because I've got them thinking, really? What did he do? I told them this. And what was the action? What have you brought to their attention? Why do you think there's going to be a benefit? What's the next step? Oh, they booked another Teams call or another follow-up call. So for me, it's all about quality. We can all work like a hamster on the wheel, but you're going to get burnt out. But if you know what quality is, you'll increase your quantity because now you know the how. So it's always been quality, quality, quality first. Open up a new account, and that could be your full-time role as a recruiter because you're now managing that. And now you build relationships because someone actually appreciates what you have on offer. So
And you're going to
absolutely
want more.
quality all the way.
Yeah, I love that. I think also having that pipeline, that was the mistake I made, not having the strong pipeline. So I'd be telling my team to make the calls. These are good companies to call. Keep going, keep going, keep going. But I didn't know they were good companies. The minute that I cracked that and I knew that the pipeline that they had was a decent pipeline, and then the rest, like you said, the science kind of did the rest for itself, which was pretty awesome. And what you said about dyslexia there, I don't know about you, but it takes me a lot longer to write a message to someone than just to do a voice note or to pick up the phone and call them.
Absolutely. Let's get totally transparent. Do I have insecurities? Absolutely. Do I suffer anxiety? Absolutely. Do I worry? Do I overthink and over-engineer? They're the quirkinesses of being someone who's dyslexic, but with the same time, I use Grammarly, I use other additional tools that help me. I may hide behind those tools and rely on those tools, but can I make a financial impact when people use me as their external trainer? Absolutely, better than anyone else. So that confidence and belief in what I'm capable of delivering is there. As a recruiter, can I enable you to reach candidates that you will struggle to recruit? Absolutely. Can I give you those individuals that you're desperately looking for, ensure that you're able to save your time to hire and cost per hire because I'm giving you better quality candidates within the timeline you're looking for? Absolutely. So stick to your mantra, and all those other tasks are just supporting tools to deliver. Fundamentally, it comes down to the funnel. What does your client want as a recruiter? I want the very best candidates to choose from. And if you can deliver that, all the others are just the mechanism to give them the pure essential oil. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. And that's simple, right? I think you can read books about it. You can look at loads of different diagrams, but actually it really is that simple. Coming back to the educating and what do they want, walking away with something. I love that because it has been 16, 17 years since I have had any training from you. If it's okay, I'm going to take the advantage of this episode to throw a few objections at you. Is that okay?
Okay, let's have a go.
So one of the most common ones that comes up for salespeople, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, is this a sales call?
I can give you the answer straight away. So first, it's most probably the way you've approached the call that the customer's really now picked up on it as being a sales call. So if I had to give an immediate answer for that, no, far from it. All my role is to do at the moment is just to give you a few updates that will have a major impact on how your organisation is going to operate. At least that way you're going to be able to strategize and plan for the future. That's a quick off the cuff, but that really comes down to, it's a domino effect. What was your preparation and planning? What was your interest aroused there to bring it to the customer's attention? And I think where people fail constantly is, I'll give you old school way of selling new school. They'll mostly ring up someone and go, oh, hello there, James. How are you today? Well, the reason for my call, I want to introduce myself and see if I could be of value. Straight away, they're going to say it's a sales call because what you said there is nothing of benefit to them. As opposed to, oh, hello there, James. James, do you have 30 seconds? A really quick call. Just need to bring something to your attention. Bang. Interest game. You've got their interest. So it's really how you've approached it. But as a generic answer, that's what I would normally say. No, far from it. You can't force anyone to buy. But what I do want to give you is some clear indicators and guidelines, what's happening in the marketplace and how similar organizations are operating that I think could assist you. Now you're interested.
I love that. One, can I tell you the one that I use? You can critique it because you're the expert. The one I always use is when they say, is this a sales call? I normally say, you could say it is. It sounds like you've had loads of sales calls today. Have you had lots? Are you getting loads of calls? And suddenly it's like I'm having a conversation with a human being and they're like, yeah. And then we kind of go, oh gosh, well, I don't want to be another one of them. But what I do want to do, and then I'll go on to my pitch.
You've done nothing there. And this is where sales is, where you nurture it in individuals. you've developed a formula that works. Who am I to chop and change it? Because what you've done very quickly is broken the cycle of you talking, and it's now a two-way dialogue. That's what you want to be able to get in with. So for me, when a recruiter opens up a conversation, it's really, the term I use is third-party validating. You want to mention other organizations similar to them. Or by the way, do you know James? James at XXX. Well, look, just spoken to James, your name has come up as someone who's quite forward-thinking. I just want to bring something to your attention. Do you have 30 seconds? Who doesn't have 30 seconds? But there's been nothing I've brought up that's a sales call. I've mentioned co-pilot, other individuals. I've kind of massaged your ego to say your name has been brought up as someone who's forward-thinking or a business leader. But look, this is what we're finding in the marketplace. What's your view? Now I sound more like a news reporter.
Yes. Love that. Love that. That's really cool. Have you got any strategies? This is, again, selfish, and I'm sure lots of other people will want this as well, who are listening. When you are getting through a call log, or you're trying to get through X amount of calls, do you have a way, like a tick list or something that kind of keeps you motivated to get through that list of calls? Have you seen any really successful ways of staying motivated when you see a list in front of you?
I think if the salesperson understands what they need to do and how, and as long as they start seeing success very, very quickly, they'll continue to go through that list. And I think this is where we fail to process map the sale. Selling to me is exceptionally scientific. Even when you intonations, you emphasize certain phrases in your voice, that can all be process mapped. But some people don't know their own DNA of selling. So part of this is, if they can understand what good looks like, it will keep them going. So there is a tick list of such. In some ways, it's the tick list of the mindset of moving through the calls so they know what they need to do. And it's still that term, prospecting. You still want to find that little bit of gold. But also, when you do find that little bit of gold, you know what to say consistently. So if it doesn't happen, you can self-critique yourself so you're more conscious, competent. I did that. That's why I didn't buy it. It wasn't me. It was him. Fine, move on.
Yeah. And sometimes the best salespeople in the world, you just won't be able to persuade them if it's not, you just want to get that yes, no,
absolutely,
maybe as quickly as possible. One thing, I sometimes forget my why. Like, I forget why I want to hit target. So we've seen this townhouse that we really want, and I've got like a little picture of it, and I keep that, and I reward myself for every rejection I get. That's one thing that's worked for me, but I'm constantly looking for new ways to keep motivated. And I guess a lot of that is partly down to sales manager knowing what motivates their team, right?
Absolutely. Individuals, it's something we've all done. I still do it. You have a picture on your desk, something you really want. It does keep you going. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The manifesting in your head what you want, vision boards. Some people laugh at these things. I don't. I'm a massive advocate. If that drives you as an individual, who's anyone else to judge it?
100%.
So, and I think those elements do fundamentally work. It's about understanding what your formula is within a sales structure and an approach, giving you the tools and confidence to show you the how. And once you've got them, then as I say, it's down to you how much energy you put in this, because now you know how, or if you don't, then you choose not to.
That's so true. I've got 2 more questions.
Certainly.
So first of all, I speak to people every day. And they are trying to recruit the best salespeople they can. I almost didn't recruit one of the best salespeople I've ever met. What kind of signals should people be looking for at interview to know whether they are about to recruit a superstar salesperson? What can they look for?
I've got a few. So number one, we talk about candidate experience, but I really do feel organizations, when they interview and go through an interview process with top performing individuals, they feel that they're doing the individual the favor. You've got to adapt around what that individual looks for. That's one tool. You've got to be agile and work around them. You've got to get them to buy into you, as well as you, the organization, and the values, etc. Candidates in today's world are much more critical about their recruitment decision they make for themselves. And if it's not right, they'll go elsewhere. But also follow a consistent interview process. So number one, I would always phone interview, because you want to pick up that voice on the phone. That's critical. A Teams voice is very different from a face-to-face voice. And absolutely, the phone voice will give you more answers than anything else. So I always do that. Then I do a competency-based interview where I'm not just focusing on performance, track record. Can you supply me evidence on that? Most probably they can do that. I want to see behaviors, and I want to be questioning that individual based on their experience and what their thought process is. Because if you can understand what their behaviors are, now you know you've got someone you can invest in. Because don't always think a top performer one place is going to be a top performer where coming to another.
Yes.
And then when they are doing their final stage interview face to face, I always get them to do a role play. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not getting them to role play to see, oh, you can sell. No, I stop them always half through their role play, give them a little bit of feedback and get them to do the role play again. Because what I'm really trying to understand and assess, can you take my direction? Can you apply my direction? So maybe the answer is, Sue, that's the key. And that's the $1 million question. Give them direction in an interview, get them to apply it. And if they can't apply it, that's already saying to you as a business leader, they're not willing to listen to you. So is that going to be a problem when you employ them?
Oh my gosh, I completely agree with that. Doing the role plays to see how they take your feedback. That's
That's
perfect.
key.
You know what? I had a little flashback then. I remember back in the day when I was doing, you were literally right next to me, giving me constant feedback. And someone said to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" And they said, "Just Romy's like on you today." And I said, "Well, no, I've asked him to be. Like, I want to learn. I want to improve. I don't think I'm particularly talented. I think I am just open to feedback. And I think if
Willing
anyone
to listen.
yeah. And I think if anyone is listening to this, we all hate being told what to do. But essentially, if you can just lower your ego and just let go of your pride for a second and just let someone tell you how to do it, try it. You're not
I've
doing it
always said
yet. If
that.
you're not a millionaire, if you're not financially independent, just listen, just learn, absorb, and it makes so much difference.
I've always said that to sales individuals because for me, it's like, just give me a chance. Let me just prove. The moment I give them one little fragment, I've got your buy-in.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of trainers just in my space fail. They can present, deliver to the senior leadership team, but they're not the people you're going to be working with. You
Yeah.
need to get the buy-in of the foot soldiers, and they're the biggest critics for you. So if you can't walk the walk, will they really buy into you? And that's the key. Get their buy-in, show them the how, okay? Make sure they're willing to take direction, get their buy-in, and it will supercharge your performance,
Love that.
the individual and the business.
I love that. You must have made quite a lot of very successful rich people. I want to say
I have.
millionaires, but I feel like millionaire is not like a phrase people are impressed by anymore. But like, who would you say is the most outstanding salesperson that you've ever trained that
Yep.
has?
I have one individual, he works at eBay in Canada. I'm still really, really close friends. And this is what people always say, why do you do what you do and not do other things and follow the people that are making more money than you? And I think I just have a passion and buzz training salespeople. I'm not worried about the money. I just love getting someone that's not successful and making them a top performer. So this individual's outstanding, willing to listen, apply what I do. The best way I can describe it, I had dinner with him once in Toronto, this lovely restaurant. I offered to pay, and he said, "Romy, you don't have to pay. Whilst we've had dinner, I've made $22,000.
Wow.
He makes roughly about 33 million a year.
Wow. That's
Okay, in
insane.
terms of what he does, is monetizes his business, e-commerce, etc. But again, like you, he's always said, the fundamentals of what you taught me, Romy, I've never changed. And I've got countless stories. I've worked in Monaco, I worked in investment banks, I've trained stockbrokers, I've done boiler room, I've done recruiters, I've done advertising. But I always say this one line, I always say, never forget the little person. Because that little person one day will become a big person. They'll be the CEO, they'll be the MD, and they will always remember where they come from. So
Mm,
never forget the little person, invest in those people, because that's what this is all about. Giving people the confidence and tools to do the job. Okay, you benefit as a recruiter, you benefit as a business, but they benefit as well, and they'll never forget you.
I love that. And it is, you have inspired me and you've inspired many, many other people. And I think when you find what you do inspiring, you naturally inspire, which is,
Absolutely.
it's great. So there's going to be lots of people listening to this. And I know we should almost do another episode because you've got a lot of knowledge on AI stuff, which you're doing at the moment as well.
Absolutely.
How can people, if they're listening to this, follow you, reach out to you? How can they get in contact with
LinkedIn profile, I'm quite unique. My name's Romy Sembi. I don't think there are actually that many on LinkedIn. Feel free to get in touch, even if it's a quick Teams call, you want a few tricks and tips. I'm more than happy. I always say there's a phrase, and maybe it's a very English phrase, manners are free. So a 2-minute call, a 5-minute call is not going to kill me. If it makes a difference to your day, I'm more than happy to share insights and examples and advice. And if you need assistance, I'm more than happy to help. Normally super busy, but there's always time to share and actually improve the performance of organizations and their businesses.
I love that. And you haven't aged and you're still like, everything that's going on that is current with AI and stuff. I'm excited to follow you and
Absolutely.
see what's next. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much.